So you got another song for us?
Yeah. I'm going to stick on the topic of theme songs.
Mm-hmm.
If in our household we watch a lot of Bondi Rescue, so you might recognise this one from Bondi Rescue. I haven't played this in a very long time, so if this is...
Don't stuff it up.
If this is chopped and changed in little bits and you only hear half the song, you know I've stuffed it up in the middle and Megan's edited it out for me. Job, I never liked them. I just wanna play in the sunshine. They said I was wrong, but I know better. I live my life like I'm dying. Give me a chance, I'll do my best to kick and scream and dance. Wait till it comes out. To the sweet times, the hot nights, everything's gonna be alright. Baby, in the summertime, and even if I have to wait till next year, I don't care. All I know is I'll meet you there. Baby, in the summertime, that is where I'll be. Meet you there in the summertime.
I don't even think you messed it up. Well, that's no fun. I think you nailed it. I think you just nailed it right then.
Thank you.
So we don't even need Callum anymore, really, do we? He's kind of a dead weight.
Nah, it's I think we both work well as a team. Yeah, I think we creatively work really well together.
Yeah. He's a little bit of a genius, isn't he?
I work well with a lot of people, I think, just because I'm open to anything.
Yeah.
And I also get really stuck in my own thinking, so I value other people's opinions highly. And I'm just fortunate enough that Callum always says yes if I have anything that I want to do. So yeah, I'm pretty lucky with that.
Yeah, he's he really is a unique individual though, in terms of his music and his ability in general, with the sound engineering and all that kind of stuff. So Callum's someone that I'm going to get him onto Zoom. I reckon we could do a three-way. You've always wanted to. We could do it. We always talk about him, but we never actually have him on. But now we've got the technology. He's funny as well. I was going to say he's funny AF. He's very dry. He's hilarious.
Mm-hmm.
It'd be fun.
Yeah, so, I don't know how he'd put the camera in front of him though. I think that'd be funny if he'd freeze or
yeah. And because some of them do. I mean, some people. There's episodes of SOCOM that we never make because the people who are hilariously funny in real life just flop in front of the camera. So there is quite a couple there's quite a few that we've actually just left in the file for maybe one day when they're actually famous for something. We'll pull it out and make them look awkward. But yeah, like obviously you and I work brilliantly together because it's always smooth and seamless. We bounce off one another. I'm talking shit.
No, I agree 100% with what you're saying. I think anything creative, it's important to have a mixed bag of people and opinions and to try and get them.
You know what I really, really love is that, young people as a rule don't want to be on camera, you know, they don't want to be under that sort of scrutiny. And, you know, I'm the one with the wrinkles and the grey hairs and everything now. But, you know, like, I think it's really great that, like, I'm nearly 50. I'm nearly 50 years old. And most of the people that do come onto this show and talk shit with me are, you know, lucky to be in their early 20s. And I just think it's wonderful. I think your generation is just a really good sport bunch of young people. And I feel really, really good about placing the future of the world in your hands. I reckon you guys are really similar to our generation. And I know you know, you obviously have terrific parents, and I think that has a lot to do with it, that the way that you're raised and the values that you have. But, you know, in general, this generation, I'm so looking forward to handing it. You know, handy. Look what we did, you know. Sometimes Tyler takes a piss out of us and talks about my generation. She calls us boomers, but we're not. I'm actually Generation X. But we bought you guys the internet. You know, we were the first generation to experience the internet, and even before Tyler was born. But yeah, so excited.
Keep up.
Yeah, I know, and it was crazy. And I remember a friend of mine worked at Telstra at the time, and she's like, "I'm going to buy you." She wanted me to do the internet. I was like, you know, what's this internet? I don't need it. She goes, "Oh, you can pay your bills, you can go shopping." And I'm like, "Well, I already pay my bills at the post office. I'll go shopping. What am I going to use it for?" And in the end, I wasn't agreeing to it. So she actually bought me the first modem, which I think was 56K or something. You used to dial up on your phone. And it was so slow, and it would drop out and all this kind of stuff. And for about the first 6 months I had it, she used to sort of call me every now and again and say, "Are you using your internet?" And the main search engine back in those days was Alta Vista. Like, there was no Google or anything like that. And I would always like lie and go, "Oh yeah, you know, I went on there and, you know, looked at stuff." But once you actually hit the ground with it and you figure out what you can do with it, I mean, my whole life revolves around the internet now. You know, eBay. What's your favorite thing on the internet to do? YouTube?
I'm a big fan of YouTube, just because there's so much on there.
That's crazy. I
can waste hours on there. What else do I like just being able to stream like TV shows and everything on there. We're in our house, we're big into parks and recreations at the minute.
What do you mean you stream? From where? From the website?
Like on like Stan or Netflix or...
Yeah, Netflix. Netflix is really the internet, isn't it?
Yeah, so it's like a website and that uses the internet.
Yeah, that uses the internet. See, I'm still getting it. I've got a little box that sits beside the TV that makes Netflix come through, and I was like, I think it's the internet.
Yeah, we've got one of those as well, and it's so handy. We love it.
Yeah, and I love Netflix, and I've got to say, like, you know, things like Netflix have just been so wonderful, and YouTube for creators who want to do something different. You know, I'm sick of hearing what the marketing guys say we need to do, and you know, everyone's done a course now in marketing, and you know, you got to grab people in the first 8 seconds, and you got to keep your videos under 8 minutes and whatever. And it's like, you know what, fuck off, because a good story deserves to be told, and it shouldn't be told to a lazy audience. It should be like, this is the story, and if you want to come and sit through the 3.5 hours, if that's what it takes, you know, then we shouldn't be just trying to market everything so that it's, you know, consumable for people that are maybe not particularly cultured or whatever. So I love Netflix, because Netflix has really given a lot of license to the creators. And we're seeing a lot of things that are controversial, or they're really not designed just for that mass market of Hollywood blockbusters. But we're not quite ready for Netflix, unfortunately. I've still got to work on a script, but you know, even YouTube, it's like, it does take time. It's a full-time job. Like, you know, I really don't do much with it. And I guess it's like with you with your music, unless you are gonna dedicate yourself to it 100%, you really just wait and see what happens.
Yeah, exactly. And I, like, the type of person I am, and you're probably the same, is to the amount of expectations that I set for myself. Like, it needs to be a full-time job to achieve like what the quality of what I want to achieve, and like, that's just not an option. So like, it sounds grim, but kind of like not the attitude of like, why should I try? It's more like it would just frustrate me not to finish it.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. And I think that's key too, because, you know, I don't know when you write, but I tend to, even when I'm writing, I'm a real binge writer. So if I got an idea, I'm going to sit down and write for 8 hours straight. And then sometimes I never come back to it. That's my problem as well. Like what seemed like a really great idea, it's sort of not necessarily always like a lack of motivation or a lack of time. Sometimes it's just like I lost my way a little bit on where I was going with that, but I don't regret still sitting down to the session. But really, you know, to write a screenplay or to even write a novel, I reckon I need a year of nothing else in my life, which I sort of figure I might get when I'm 70. And then, you know, I don't think it's a problem. I'll just wait. And in the meantime, I'm gathering lots more fodder for the content, you know. And I think it is important as well that you're still enjoying it, and that, you know, if you were playing gigs all the time, I don't reckon there's any way you'd do this SOCOM episode with us. You'd be like, fucking Megan wants to do another SOCOM. You're like, you know, my fingers are sore. I've been playing, you know, 3 gigs a week and MCG, SCG.
SCG. I don't think anyone would want to hear me 3 times a week. That's for sure. This is a fun little thing to do, and I do. Oh, so many people. Honestly, everyone that I talk to says, "What are you up to with your music now?" And it's like if I had a week in a day, I might be able to get everything done that I want to get done. And it's a shame that it can't be done, but it sounds really rude. Cut that out.
You know, I think that's good. Like, but the other thing too is that this coronavirus, and I have mentioned it a couple of times, but I don't know if people really understand when you're a creative person. And I was trying to even explain to my kids about how quickly life moves these days. Like, you know, we really, every minute that's spare, we jam something into it. But for me, and I've been busy with work up until, you know, I've probably just finished my work today that I've got on the schedule. For me, this coronavirus and forcing us to do nothing, at the end of this, I think we're going to have some of the best music, some of the best writing, some of the best inventions that we've ever had. You know,
I think so too. I think it's a little bit of a blessing in disguise, as well as
the environment.
It's going to reset everything, because like I strongly believe that something like this was bound to gradually happen. You know, people would get sick, or like, because we're not living healthy.
Absolutely.
And when something would have to nobody expected it to be a global pandemic.
No.
It was bound to happen, like the bushfires. It was bound to happen unless something was done.
Yeah.
And it's unfortunate that it has to get to that point before something gets done. But I think that this is a good opportunity that I hope we don't waste.
I agree.
About just living better.
Yep. And I think you're spot on, you know, and this is going back to, again, with your generation, like you guys will come off the back of this. This is actually the biggest thing that's ever happened in my life. But I'm too old and tired now.
It blows my mind, because nothing like this has ever happened before. And that's easy for me to say as a 21-year-old who hasn't seen much happen. You know, I haven't lived through a war or anything like that. I don't remember anything like 9/11 happening. But speaking to, like, you know, my parents and my grandparents, like literally nothing like this has ever happened before. So it's crazy to think.
It's crazy, you know, and like, you know, my mum passed away, and I sometimes am thinking to myself, what would she be saying? What would she be telling us to do? You know, because I've sort of gone, we didn't stockpile, and we didn't, we sort of, first of all, were like, or those people, look at them, we're not going to do that, that's stupid. But then you started thinking, like, should we do something? Are we missing, you know, do we not get the memo, all that kind of stuff? But often I'm drawing on my mum, you know, because not that she went through anything either quite this bad, but they certainly went through more adverse times. And I'm trying to draw on that in the way that I respond to it, you know, and even trying to model it for my kids, because at least they did go through war and things like that. But it's just an amazing, I almost feel privileged to be alive during this. And I think as Australia, I don't think I've felt this united as a country. Like, you know, maybe since we hosted the Olympics in 2000.
I don't remember either.
And you wouldn't remember that either. Exactly, you were 2 years old. But you know, I really do. I think that when we get to the end of this, and if it is 6 months or, you know, or longer, I think we're going to look at life differently, and that is going to be in your generation's hands. That's going to be up to you guys to say, hang on a minute. So key for me has been the environmental shift. You know, that have you seen the, you know, canals in Venice and and the levels of pollution around the world, and there's just such an important message, I think, to everyone.
I think as well with like people will be smarter with who they're voting in for in the elections as well. Like with, you know, there's billions of dollars being handed out now to people who can't work, and or going towards funding hospitals, and it baffles me that it's like, where did that money, how do we just have billions of dollars ready to go? Like, shouldn't we have already been doing that and putting it into the hospitals and getting, like, be prepared? Like, just, I don't get it.
Well, I tell you what though, and I'm not a good economist, but I did have this conversation with somebody, and they told me that they printed the money. So the government has bonds. No, this is actually not a conspiracy as well. Apparently it's the way. So the Reserve Bank is a privately owned business. It's not a government bank, but apparently the government has bonds that they can cash in, which they save for this type of thing. So a lot of the money came from that, but also that the Mint just started printing more money. That's where the government got the money. Now, I'll Google that because I could be giving you misinformation, but the person that told me generally doesn't take the piss. And he said government bonds, they've cashed in with their government bonds, and the Mint is just basically printing out free money. So that's going to fuck us.
That doesn't make sense, because wouldn't the value of the dollar go down significantly? Like our dollar is worth not a lot at this point. Like compared to the US, we're like 0.6 or something, you know, like the conversion rates. I don't know what I'm talking about. See, I'm not good on this stuff myself. I'm not a good business or economy brain, but yes, like we're going to flood them. It does make the dollar be worth less, but I think it's like shutting down businesses is not a good idea either, and we've done it. I think it's extraordinary circumstances, so they needed to be able to give everyone money. And I'm sure the flow-on effect of this will go for years, where a used car might never be worth what it was, 3 weeks ago. May never, you know, in our lifetime, I'm sure it will do some long-term damage. I'll have to get one of our, have you got any students that are studying like finance or something? Because really,
we'll have to get someone. I might even talk to my accountant. See if he'll do a SOCOM episode with us, because I don't get it either. I don't understand it. It's complicated, but it's fascinating. And you know, I just, again, like saying for you guys, if you do anything with this, I think that you had a lot of opposition from my generation around environmental issues, you know, and obviously climate change. I think that there's two things that can come from this, and the first is that we can see how quickly the climate can recover and regenerate when it's left alone. But the second thing is as well is that, you know, I think it's just a communication breakdown. I think that a lot of people in my generation get really annoyed with the word climate change. They're not opposed to, you know, cutting, you know, fossil fuels or, you know, doing better with the environment and recycling. They're not opposed to that. It's when they come out and call it climate change that we then see like this war of the generations. And I just wonder whether, you know, really the reality is, and I was mind blown by the changes in, you know, even China and in pollution and the animals coming into the city and stuff like that. And that happened within a week, 2 weeks.
Yeah, crazy. Like just the amount of people that drive away, the healthy environment that